Test 1, 2. Hi, good evening. Welcome to The Counts. It's so good evening. Welcome to Live at The Counts. My name's Chelsea Wilson. I'm series producer and your host, and thrilled to be here with you this evening. Thank you. I'd firstly like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the lands that we are broadcasting from, the people of the Kulin Nations, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We are truly thrilled to have our doors back open here at The Counts, and you would have just heard our incredible live audience here with us tonight. If you'd like to join the party, you can. Next Wednesday night, Soul and Funk Trio, Cooking on Three Burners, will be bringing the party to The Counts. And on Wednesday, December 1, The Meltdown will be making their Counts debut, performing a special homage to Ray Charles. So you can head to Monash University, Performing Arts Centre's The Counts, and book now so you don't miss out. But for tonight, we are really in for a treat. Making her return to The Counts, sensational jazz vocalist and cabaret artist, Mama Alto. Yeah. A Monash University alumna, she's a multi-award-winning vocalist, musician, curator, and arts sector leader. She's released 4 studio albums and has performed at festivals including Darwin Festival, Adelaide Fringe and Adelaide Cabaret Festival. And in 2021 was awarded the Australia Council Kirk Robson Award for Community Arts and Cultural Development and took up the helm as CEO of Transgender Victoria. Tonight, she's joined by pianist Ned Dixon to present a beautiful set of jazz standards. After the set, they'll be joining us for a Q&A. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask Mama or Ned, you can pop them in the chat or head to Slido, that's SLIDO, and pop in the code LATC for Live at the Counts, and you can put your question in that way. But until then, please join me now in a huge Live at the Counts welcome for Ned Dixon and Mama Alto.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The wonderful Ned Dixon on piano. And as Chelsea let you all know, everyone here in the audience and all of you at home, I hope I'm looking at the right camera. But just in case I'm not, I'm going to look at all of them sequentially. Just bear with me, everybody. There's one just there. You might be able to see the tiny green light. If you stare just like Jay Gatsby all the way to the end of the pier, you can see that tiny green light through the mist. And I think they might have the best view in the house, actually. But should have charged extra for that string. So that was one of my favourite old classic songs, but I have very rarely performed it. I performed it for the first time last Friday at my first gig back, which a couple of you were at, I know. And this is, of course, my second gig back after the lockdowns. I haven't performed since the Snap opening that we had in July. But I'm so thrilled to be back at the Counts. Back when I came to Monash as a student, this area here was the Rotunda. Some of you looking out at the audience were not born at that time. But back then there was a building here called the Rotunda. It was beautiful in its sense of brutalist architecture, but not so beautiful in the asbestos tiles that would occasionally fall from its aged facade. And the fact that that beautiful but sadly well past its time lecture theatre has been replaced with a 1950s style New York jazz club just makes my little heart sing, and it's such a pleasure to perform here. I was able to perform here a couple of times before the pandemic that shall not be named graced our shores, but to be back is just so surreal and so exciting. I feel like I'm in some sort of fabulous dream. And I don't actually know what song's next, but I've got a set list here. Take it away, Ned. Darling, is there anyone from this table who's feeling brave and would like to bring me the cup of tea that's just sitting at the corner there? Thank you. Are you double vaxxed? Yes. Okay. Can I see your certificate? No. Thank you so much. I didn't plan this very well. I can't actually bend down. That's okay. Thank you so much. Next time you're on this stage, you'll have to sing. So, it's so great to be back here singing these classic jazz songs, and it's a slightly different set than I usually do. I decided for this re-emergence from the pandemic that I really wanted to revisit some of the beautiful classic standards that I love so much, but a lot of which I have not performed as much before. But as you've probably noticed, I'm taking some of those great standards and putting a bit of a Mama Cabaret ballad spin on them. And to me, that's really informed by the lyrics. A lot of people will play Autumn Leaves in a kind of very jaunty Django Reinhardt, very fast style, as I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times before. But to me, I just can't take that song fast because the poetry of the lyrics, originally in French, is so bereft that I have to take my time with that song as if a wounded bird is wailing outside my window. Which is, I should have warned you earlier, I can be quite dramatic. I'm sure you've picked up on that. Which is a good segue into this next song. Good morning, heartache. Do you all have a drink? Do you all have a drink? Cheers to the return of live music. At least I hope someone can check my pulse, but I hope it's live music. That was, popularised, that song by the great Billie Holiday, who I particularly love. Do we have any Billie Holiday fans in the room? Quite a few. The worst sin, I think, is when I say to an audience, are there any Billie Holiday fans in the room? Sometimes they go, oh, who's he? And I'm all for people embracing and exploring gender identity, but that's just ridiculous. Up there in my top jazz singers, probably as the night goes on, you'll realise that I never script anything I'm going to say in between the songs. So stick around and, I might get more unhinged as the night progresses, as I make it up on the spot. But you'd think with all that time in lockdown I would have had some time to sit down and script some patter, but I'm just not that kind of girl. So up there with Billie Holiday amongst my favourite singers, I think the best singer of all time in any genre. This might be a controversial opinion, particularly if we have any of the Beehive or the Little Monsters or whatever the latest group of pop star fans are called. But I think the greatest singer of all time was Sarah Vaughan. And we're going to do one of her signature songs for you now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And those at home watching, I hope that you're wearing your comfiest pajamas, because I am. Actually, how are we going for time? Because, there's another Sarah Vaughan classic, which, I would call it a Sarah Vaughan classic, being a singer, and Ned, being a pianist, would call it an Errol Garner classic. But it is one of Ned's favourite jazz standards. It's not on the set list, but I know that they know it off by heart. So how would you feel about doing Misty? Do you want to open with the solo? The amazing Ned Dixon. Thank you. I do like to throw in surprises. So I think a lot of the pianists that I work with are best described as long-suffering. This, for those Billie Holiday fans in the room, here's another one for you. And for the people who had never heard of Billie Holiday before, shame on you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's time for the last one of this set, and our final one with our live broadcast audience at home. And then, of course, after that, we have our little Q&A, which both our live stream and our live in the flesh audience will see. But then it will come time for the special behind-the-scenes backstage party, where we'll do another maybe 6 or 7 songs, especially for those who are here live tonight. So, this one we've never ever played together, not even in a rehearsal or a jam session. So you are going to witness the magic of live extemporaneous creation. Extemporaneous, for any jazz majors at this fine university out there, basically translates to a word that will get you a HD. So you put that word in your back pocket, and then if you're ever, at a jam session with an older, renowned musician and you hit a bum note and they give you the look, which you will know the look. Even if you're not a musician, you will know the look. If you work in an office and you loaded the photocopier toner the wrong way around, you know the look. If you've ever put woolen clothes in a warm washer and then had to explain to someone that their favourite sweater is now 5 sizes too small, you know the look. So if you're playing with an older musician, a jazz musician, this doesn't fly in the opera or classical worlds, and unless it's a Maria Callas song, she did a bit of extemporaneous. She didn't call it that. She called it interpolating. So any classical voice majors in the room, that's your word. The word of the day is, this television thing's really going to my head. I think I'm on Sesame Street. Oh my God. So if you hit a bum note and the older jazz musician gives you the look, you say, I'm extemporizing. And then they'll say, oh, that's cool, cat, or something like that. If you're singing opera and you hit a bum note, if it's not a song that Maria Callas did, you're doomed. You are going to meet a fiery, fiery end. And if you are doing a Maria Callas song, you say, I was interpolating the note for ornamentation. And then they'll go, it's a bit dodgy, but I'll let it fly. And if they still object, you say, Maria Callas did it. And see what happens then. So shall we do it as like a bluesy ballad shuffle? Not too fast, but you keep a driving momentum. Now you're seeing what our rehearsal process looks like. I should charge you extra for this. Like a bluesy shuffle, still a ballad, but you keep the momentum going and I'll go in and out of time and surprise me with some sort of florid introduction.
Dream in my heart without a love.
If you could see the look of terror in that moment. Thank you so much. That was our first set. I'll just check on the time. Yes, it's perfect timing. We're going to go into our Q&A now, which is just so exciting. So please welcome back the wonderful curator of Live at the Counts, the fabulous Chelsea Wilson.
Well, thank you.
Now, do we have a little reset and then the
I think
live
this is
and
the.
then
I think
3,
this
2,
is the
1?
reset.
Keep going.
Are we resetting?
And you've got your beautiful little auto cue down there. That's just fabulous. I've got my glass.
Welcome to the Live at the Counts Q&A with Mama Alto.
I'm so delighted. I just love Q&A. It's just, ooh.
Thank you so much for an incredible show, and it was beautiful to hear you sing again and to have your wonderful piano playing, Ned. Just great. It's really, I think, healing. Would you agree? You know, it's just that, yeah, just to be
you so
back in a
much.
live room.
Thank you. And with such a beautiful audience.
Like you, and you know this about me, I'm a huge fan of jazz and I'm a deep lover of the standards and the American songbook. But I wanted to ask you, what resonates with you so much about the material that you've devoted so much of your artistic practice to that repertoire?
I think there are 2 different answers here because, of course, I'm a very complex, multifaceted diva. The first answer is a bit more cloying or sentimental, so we'll start with that and then we'll wash our mouths out with the other answer afterwards. So the cloying, sentimental answer, you know, a lot of this repertoire that the great jazz singers kind of plucked up and interpreted and turned into their own and reimagined, and what we as jazz singers have the pleasure of doing still today. Often that original material, particularly from that Tin Pan Alley era of songwriting, was very quickly produced, very formulaic set of chords, often rushed through and pumped out for whatever the latest kind of review show on Broadway was going to be. Or they were, like in the case of Autumn Leaves, French chanson tradition, and often very simple, appealing songs with melodies that contained infinite possibilities beyond what was written on the page. And once we get our hands on them, we start to open up those possibilities and find them and articulate them in new and different ways. And you can hear the same one of those songs 100 times and not realize that it's the same song. Same thing with, you know, horn players, and many other jazz players will do that to those songs. So I love the idea that these songs may have had small and humble beginnings and may have not, you know, they were ephemeral. They weren't really even intended to stand the test of time when they were written. But it goes to show that no matter what or who you are, there's that interior beauty. And once someone, whether it's an artist or just someone in your life, looks closely enough to explore, we find those infinite, intriguing, beautiful, strange possibilities in there. And that's what we do with those songs. The other reason I love those songs is because I think, and this applies to all music, not just jazz, I love that you came for the late night jazz bar vibes and then you've stayed for the musicology lecture. You shall each receive 6 credit units for this intensive. I can't promise that. Talk to someone over there at the conservatorium. But the other reason is I think all music, and why it's so appealing and so enduring and why we're all here listening to it, music expresses the intensity of emotions and experiences that otherwise would feel too big for one human heart to hold. When we're listening to a singer or singing along in the car or crying in the bathtub after a breakup, singing along to a song, that song gives us a place to put those feelings and feel them and explore them and understand them that in daily life would be too intense, too raw, too massive, too huge, whether they're euphoric or distressing feelings. And that, to me, is what really appeals to me about that repertoire.
Brilliant answer. So in addition
Where's
to...
my honorary doctorate?
Yes.
Are there any faculty here tonight?
So not only an artist, but also someone who has been an activist in our community and a spokesperson, I wanted to ask you what role you see arts and music playing in advocating for social justice and for change.
I think that's such a fascinating question, and we could be here all night, but I'll try to give a very reduced and crystallised version. I think that the power of the arts and music and performing arts as a generator of social change in a way that is sometimes confronting, but sometimes in a way that's very gentle and very subtle. You know, the example I always think of is, you know, there were people around the world in the 60s and 70s who would never let a person of colour into their living room until the Supremes were on the Steve Allen show, you know, until Nina Simone, Aretha Franklin, some of the great artists of our time, Sam Cooke, Nat King Cole, were on television in their lounge room. And suddenly, maybe for the first time, through art, in that example and thousands of others across not just race, but across any point of difference and diversity in humanity, you experience another person who you think of as different, of the other, of dangerous or of stereotyped. And through encountering them through art and music, for the first time you can start to see them as a human being. And then everything starts to change. And then generationally, you get to the point where change can happen. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think the arts have such huge power to play in that regard.
And how do you get your confidence to speak out?
I don't. I live, it's true, you know, and I think it's an important thing to talk about and admit because it helps others speak out too. I am probably terrified 99% of the time that I'm asked to speak on a social issue or to advocate for something that's just not right or to try and improve things for my communities. But that's why I have to do it. Because one day we have to get to the point where no one's terrified to ask for equality or dignity or equity or basic human rights and respect. You know, so I don't get the confidence, and that's why I have to do it. And I've spoken to so many people in different places around the world who advocate for so many different causes, and every single one of them says the same thing.
It's uncomfortable speaking out and speaking your truth, but we love the work that you do. And do you have any advice for anyone here or at home that might want to see change, but how do they get through that next step?
Asking the nice, easy questions tonight. Advice for people who want to see that change. You know, there's the old saying that it starts at home, it starts in our small daily actions, it starts in the small interactions that we do in our lives. You know, not everyone has to be, you know, we have so many amazing speakers and activists and advocates in this country, and, you know, some of them have millions of followers on Twitter, or some of them speak at huge conferences, or some of them write incisive pieces that are published and spread widely, but you don't have to be that to make a difference. Small daily actions and interactions and the way we speak and the way we learn and not be afraid to admit, I used to think this or say this and that's wrong. I shouldn't do that. That's what actually will create real long-term change in addition to the visible front of the activism or advocacy, you know.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so on a lighter note, there's 37 days left until Christmas. I know that you love to do a Christmas show spectacular. I've performed in the spectacular with you a few years ago now. I'm wondering, Will there ever be a Mama Alto Christmas album a la Mariah Carey?
Oh, wow. I do really want it. Might be more a la the Lena Horne Christmas
Yeah.
album, more than Nat King Cole than the Mariah Carey, but I would love to do that. And I'm indeed doing my Christmas special, the 10th annual Christmas special.
Wow, 10 years.
In about 2 weeks, so I should
Incredible.
probably practice. Christmas songs are those kind of ubiquitous things that come around every year and you think, oh yeah, I know them. And then when it's time to get up in front of people and do them, the words just kind of exit out in one ear, out the other. But I love the idea that for a lot of people, Christmas can be... I love the idea that we can change through coming together and singing the experience of Christmas, because for a lot of people, Christmas brings back sad memories. For a lot of people, Christmas brings back memories of people who aren't here to celebrate with us, or of dysfunctional families, or of the dreams of what you want your life and Christmas to be like, and it doesn't match the picture postcard image. And just taking it back again, you know, I talked about song and emotion, but connecting with each other through beautiful songs and coming together in a space that a lot of people feel comfortable and safe, sitting in the dark in a theatre or a club and just being together. That for me that's what Christmas should feel like. So I love doing that with the Christmas show and singing those songs and eating lots and lots of Christmas food backstage.
Yeah. We've got some audience questions. Tony Raleigh has asked, how has Mama been enjoying returning to live audiences?
Oh, it's so exhilarating, but it's also so terrifying. I had my first one on Friday at Club Clock Tower in Moonee Valley, and it was so exciting and so exhilarating that I felt drunk, you know, and I had not had anything to drink since 2014. But I was, you know, the feeling of being back again and connecting with the audience and singing and exploring this music. But I was also so nervous and terrified, and the adrenaline was just... But I think, you know, that's just the feeling that we all have when we go back to a department store or a crowded street or to the park and there's too many people picnicking without their masks. It's that mix of terror and excitement. And, you know, it's hard to deal with those kind of things. So I think if people have that anxiety, there are so many wonderful support services and phone lines that you can reach out to at this time. That certainly always makes a difference for me. And but also if you need to go out there and wear a mask or wear a face shield, because that makes you feel more comfortable, just do it. Because to co-opt an old saying about dressing how you want to and applying it to masks, people are going to stare anyway. So why not just wear the mask and feel more comfortable?
I've got another audience question here from Kitty. What's your favourite thing about being a performer?
My favourite thing about being a performer is meeting other performers. You know, suddenly you get to meet, particularly in festival environments, you get to meet other performers backstage and at sound checks and at tech and hanging out after the show. And the kind of people who, if you weren't a performer, you might never get to hang out with and meet. And people are so fascinating. And performers, particularly singers and cabaret artists, spend so much of their time meeting people and thinking about the human condition because it's what we put into our songs. Mm-hmm. So when you get a bunch of us together after a show backstage and people are laughing and talking and drinking, the stories and experiences that everyone in those rooms has had around the world. So I think my favourite thing about being a performer is getting to meet other performers, and I've met some incredible people, you know.
And speaking of incredible people and incredible stories, I know a few years ago you toured to Cuba. And I'd so love to hear about what that experience was like for you.
I did. It was completely magical. It was my first international tour. I think it was in 2015. Finnecane and Smith, who are a fabulous burlesque cabaret production ensemble of glamazons, and who I'm so privileged to be an ensemble member with, were invited to headline the Havana International Theatre Festival.
Incredible.
The first ever Australian company invited to headline that festival. And actually we won an award. A year later we found out we had won the Jamaco Award, which is the Cuban Theatre Industry Award for Best International Presentation. And there were a few other international acts in Cuba that year, including the Rolling Stones. So when my grandmother found out that we
some
had
little
won
band no
this.
one's
She
heard of.
said, "You know the Rolling Stones performed there." I think they were nominated, but I don't think they even know that they were nominated. But please don't tell them. But it was an incredible experience, you know. It was... The Havana Riviera is a 1959 hotel built in a kind of haute moderne style. And it was built by Las Vegas mobsters and in the image of a 1950s Las Vegas hotel. And it was built and opened in 1959. So anyone who knows anything about Cuban history knows that that was not a very good time to open a temple of capitalist hedonism in the middle of Cuba. But they had the cabaret room in the ballroom of the Havana Riviera, the Copacabana room at the Havana Riviera. And rumour has it, of course, that that's the hottest spot north of Havana. You know, if we have any fans of that song in the room, that was the origin of that. And, you know, thousands of clubs after that all around the world, including the famous one in New York, were named the same name. But so the 1950s cabaret room with all of the chandeliers and the glitter and 700 seats in a kind of raised amphitheatre at cabaret tables with candles, it was all still intact. And we went in there and we performed in this incredible room, and it was a really magical experience. And it was eye-opening in so many ways. And I still sometimes chat with some of the friends that I made there at the festival, speaking of meeting amazing people. But for me, it was just, there's a Latin American Spanish word that's really used to its fullest by people in Havana, and that's sabrosura. And it's about that kind of intangible zest or spice or flavour or bittersweet but exciting but trepidatious spark of life. And that's what it was like. You know, that's what it was like.
I'll have one of those, please.
Can we add something to the menu here
Yes.
called a sabrosura?
Thank you so much for sharing that, because after not being able to travel for so long, I am just so down for any armchair travel at all. Just anyone telling me any of your holiday stories.
I've been doing a lot of coffee table
I'm here
books
for it.
during lockdown.
Yes.
I've been ordering coffee table books of fabulous places and pouring through them and pretending that I'm there.
We've got a comment here from Karen. Thank you, Mama Alto. Spoken wisdom. We can and must all make a difference. And I think we'll all agree with that. I've got one more question for you, and I'd love it if Ned might want to contribute to this one. But given we are a university here, we have some incredible artists here currently studying music like you did. I'd love to ask both of you if you have any advice for students who might be just about to finish their music degree, who are looking at moving into the arts and music industry, because it's been an incredibly challenging time for our sector.
Yeah, I would say have a look at the people around you doing the same thing as you, because they're the people that you're going to collaborate most with, and they're the people that you're going to carve out a space and make projects with. It can be really tough persevering in an industry that doesn't traditionally get a lot of support. But if you're doing your thing with those people, the networking that you do, especially in a uni space, the friends that I made and the networks I made back in my time are the same ones that I'm gigging with and doing shows with now.
Got a little bit political there, Ned. I could feel the ghost of McCarthy breathing down my neck as you said that. My advice really is something I was always told as a young artist before even coming to university, and I heard it from a few different people in the music and performing arts industry, was you'll never make it in the industry because there is no niche for you. Someone actually wrote that down once on a feedback form at an Stedford competition, and that was their feedback to me. And I just, that made me so full of despair, as gatekeeping always does to the people who are locked out of the gate. But later on, I had other mentors and other people in my life who said, actually, let's look at what that person said and what you've heard from people a different way. Maybe there is no niche for you, so it's up to you to create that niche. And in doing so, you actually then go on to meet others and connect with others and create your own in art grant language and community arts and cultural development language, which is a language I speak when I'm wearing one of my other hats, not my performing hat, we would call that building and establishing communities of practice with peers. But it is really, it's about you can create your own niche and you should feel empowered to do that. And by doing that, you're actually going to create better art because it's going to be truer to who you are, and you're going to connect with the people who you should be working with, who you actually should be working with, rather than the people you've been told you should be working with to become a success, in inverted commas. So I would say build your own niche. Don't just find it, build your own. And I would also say, whenever, it's an industry with a lot of rejection, often not with any malicious intent, but that's hard, And I would say the best balm for that, or the best revenge for that if it is malicious, is to invest in your own excellence. Not other images of excellence of what, because who would have believed, not even I would have believed 20 years ago that, that as a brown trans woman jazz singer, in head to toe, 6-foot leopard print and tiger print, singing in this, wailing in this ridiculously high voice and then whispering in this little low voice. What is that, But when you invest in your own image of what excellence should be and you feel empowered and you build your own niche, I just think the sky's the limit. I mean, there are systemic and structural barriers in this world which we have to fight against. So the sky's not quite the limit, but hopefully, if you invest in your own excellence and build your own niche, we'll break through those ceilings.
Huge round of applause, please, for Ned Dixon and Mama Alto. Mama and Ned will be back very soon after a break. So those in our live audience, please grab a drink and we'll see you very soon. And for those tuning in on our live stream, so great to have your company. That concludes Live at the Counts for this episode. You can tune in again next Wednesday from 7 p.m. or buy some tickets and come and join us in real life next Wednesday for Cooking on 3 Burners. So until next week, good night. Thank you for joining our Live at the Counts concert series. We'd like to say thank you to Monash University Performing Arts Centre's technical crew and staff for their incredible work. For information on future shows and more extraordinary live performances, follow @Monash PAC.